ripping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party, ladies and gentlemen, about to happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the
Hi, Mom.
world-famous Smoking and Toasting. Jim was going to do the Hi, Mom, I thought.
Well, that's what I thought, too. I pointed, and I got nothing.
I'm at a loss.
Okay. It's all right.
I wasn't briefed.
It's our first show of a brand new year. So, first of all, welcome to 2024.
2024.
We're actually recording this before 2024. So if
That's
we,
right.
So
if we
screw up and
survive.
say next year or something.
We're projecting ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. We're projecting ourselves into next year. But we are going to talk cigars of the year, and we're going to talk them in one of the greatest places in the world to smoke cigars.
I agree.
Which is the famous front porch of our occasional Smoking and Toasting guest host, Mr. Jim Hime. So, Jim.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for welcoming us to your porch. This is wonderful.
Anytime. Let's do it next weekend.
This
love
is nice. If you catch me out here by myself
Yeah.
smoking a cigar, I only live like 8 minutes away from here.
Your wife will say, Jim, there's some guy on the front porch smoking a cigar.
Just some homeless guy. Don't worry about it.
I have spent a number of wonderful evenings on this very porch smoking with Mr. Hime. In fact, that was what gave me the idea when you were out of town to see if Jim could come in and guest host, because we just basically did what you and I would do, which is sit around and talk about cigars and
great
spirits.
job. I really enjoyed that show, by the way.
Thanks.
Stop trying to take my spot.
I wasn't even starting to take it.
No, it was great. It was great fun hanging with Jim. So I'm glad now we can all be on the show together.
That's awesome.
This is absolutely a wonderful thing. So I have lit up a cigar. I did this right before the show started. This is, and I'll do my best. Which camera should I show this to? That one? This is one of my Christmas gifts. Adam, Adam in the Sky, our producer, and my son-in-law, gave me a really nice selection of cigars. And he worked really hard to try to find things he thought I hadn't had. Mm-hmm. And one of them was the new Rocky Patel.
Because you've had a lot of cigars.
Well, if you think about it, this is show number 361. So just the cigars for the shows.
Yeah.
That's 361
right.
cigars. So that's what makes it hard for me to call myself an occasional smoker on the doctor's office form, right? Yeah. How often do you have a cigar? Does hourly
At least
qualify?
once a week.
On the time period.
That's
Probably more.
Yeah.
It's for work, doctor, so it's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
That's right. It's only work cigars.
But in any case, Adam did a nice job of getting me several things I hadn't had, and I was very anxious to smoke this one. And I can tell you from lighting it up, already I think it's wonderful. It's got a lot of rich, complex flavors. I'm getting some leather, some wood, kind of a cedar note, and it's just kind of morphing flavor-wise as it goes. And I've only smoked about a half an inch of it.
So when I think Rocky Patel, I think a lot of times I think of those nuttier flavors. Because like earthy and nutty flavors that I get in a lot of Rocky Patels. Absolutely love his stuff, and what a nice guy, and the few times I've met him too.
So I think I've told the story on the show before, but I first met Rocky Patel many years ago. I was living in Boston at the time, and I used to go up to New Hampshire every once in a while to a place that was not too far across the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border called Two Guys Smoke Shop. And Two Guys had great selection, and they had a wonderful smoking room, because after you drive up, you want to sit and
sit and enjoy
yourself.
one, right?
But they occasionally would do cigar dinners. And so I bought tickets to one of their cigar dinners, went up, and I am seated at this table, and up comes this gentleman. I didn't know who he was, hadn't seen a picture of him or anything before, but he introduced himself. It was very nice. He introduced himself as Rocky Patel. Now, just because I read a lot about cigars, I happen to know that Rocky Patel was the guy behind the Indian Tobacco Cigar Company.
Right.
And I said, I enjoy your cigars. It was very nice to meet you. And he sits down and proceeds to tell me that he's done his last release as Indian Tobacco. He's about to start releasing cigars under his own name. And he reaches into his coat pocket and hands me a Rocky Patel vintage 1990.
Nice.
With the band on it, but these were not out yet. And so I lit it and smoked it at the table and kept going on and on to him about what a great cigar it was. And he just couldn't have been any more down to earth. These days, he's more like rock star cigar guy. And I get it because, his name's become well known. He's become very involved in,
he's a little bit of he's a little bit of the Van Halen of the cigar industry.
He kind of is, yeah. He kind of is. So, but he couldn't be nicer. And we had him on the show in Vegas, if you recall, and he couldn't have been nicer then too. Even though he was definitely already at cigar god rock star status.
Well, and he was like in the middle of about 16 different things that still took time out to do what we did.
Yes,
that was amazing.
Which was really cool. So we really like him, and I really like this cigar. What are you smoking there, buddy?
So this is a Sencillo Black. Sencillo Black. It's easy for you to say. Edition Limitada, Nicaragua, 2023. I just recently reviewed this cigar and gave it a 7.
Nice.
On the price to quality
That's
scale.
good.
I absolutely love this cigar. So I figured, you know what? I would bring this.
Let me see the band on that.
And look how leathery and oily that thing is.
Yeah, that looks
too.
wonderful. I'm going to have to try that out.
Like chewy and delicious.
Did you get that at the Casa? Mm-hmm. All right, I'm going to have to try that out. Jim, what are you smoking there, brother?
One that you graciously gave me, the AJ Fernandez.
Do your mic.
Oh, the AJ Fernandez.
Rosa de Guadalupe, yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of the forgotten AJ brand. You don't hear as much about that. Yeah.
Lovely. Keep that mic, yeah.
I'm an AJ fanboy, as we all know, if you're regular to the show. So I brought one of those for Jim as a little holiday gift. So
if Cruz gives you 4 cigars, 3 of them are going to be some sort of AJ blend.
Well,
and one of them will not be because he will consciously understand that he's giving out 3 AJ Fernandez.
Yeah, I can't give 4 of my AJs away. No, because what happens is it happened over the holidays. I'm like, okay, I'm going to pull together a little holiday bag for Ian. I got him some rum. And I thought I'm going to pull some cigars. So I go to my humidor. Well, guess what's in my humidor? Lots of AJ Fernandez cigars, right?
Dude, but look at how beautiful this is, and thank you.
Yeah.
Now, I dropped off a bottle at the holiday party.
You certainly did, and you allowed me to keep that bottle and take it home after the party was over.
Which, oddly enough, was mostly full at that point.
Yeah, well, it's not mostly full anymore.
So this Macambo, we actually had this on the show. It's no longer mostly full. This Macambo rum, we had this on the show a year ago, I think.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Ish. This was a gift. My bottle of Macambo was a gift from my brother-in-law. He just randomly, I think, I don't know if he did research or whatever, but he got me and my wife this bottle, and it was amazing. Yeah. And I brought it on the show, and you fell in love with it immediately.
I went crazy for it. Immediately went out and bought a bottle for me at home, smoking and toasting, directly influencing sales.
I just finished my bottle of this about a week ago and was thinking, I need to get another one of those. And then here comes Santa Claus today with the bottle of it. This is beautiful.
If I'm going to buy you something for a holiday gift, it's likely going to be something that I think is wonderful.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so that's why I thought, I know you've had that before. It's not something new. But then I had Eagle Rare before too, and
then I went to stuff it back in the bag, and lo and behold, I couldn't quite get it in there because there's first off, this is one of my favorite all-time cigars.
Isn't that a great
Master
smoke?
Blend,
Churchill
from
Oliva,
the St. Cristobal Revelation, holy cow!
That's a wonderful cigar.
The Room 101.
Yep.
Muzzle loader. I haven't tried this.
This is a new one for me too. I've not smoked that yet.
And then, of course, the nub, Connecticut. There's nothing wrong with a nub.
So I'd like to point out none of those is an AJ.
I was just about to mention that. How crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's because Jim got the AJ. Yeah. Actually, I was looking in my humidor going, what can I give Ian that I can bear to part with? I think that was what was happening.
And while you're on it, thank you very much for my bottle of plantation rum.
See, so we did the
Which one did you
I
get there?
appreciate that. I got the Isle of Fiji.
That is one of the best rums.
Really
it's amazing.
Yeah. I'm very excited.
And one of the good things, and by revealing this, Terry, I'm admitting that I did not spend a whole lot of money on your gift. But one of the things you will love about this bottle of rum is if you really like it, it's very affordable.
And you will. And
Oh,
you
that's
will
good.
replace
See,
it.
that's
It's
good.
very
Yeah,
affordable,
exactly.
yeah.
That's good. That can put it with next to my. I got a second bottle of the Bonded to replace the one that I left for you at the party there. So yes,
There's a
exactly.
theme here. Now, you wonder why I brought these guys gifts. It's because they left me bottles at the party. I had to reciprocate. That's what you do at the holidays, right?
It's beautiful. Thank you very much.
So we are going to talk about cigars of the year. As of the time of the recording of this show, a big chunk of the Cigar Aficionado list is out of the cigars of the year for 2023. So we'll talk about that. Ian and I have made short lists of some of the cigars that we enjoyed the most during 2023. So we'll get to all of that coming up. We'll also be trying some beers, which we like to do on this show.
I like beer.
From Porter, Texas, and the Back Pew Brewing Company.
I love that name.
Yeah, it's great. We'll be trying
I'm a
their.
Christian, and I like to sit on the back.
The back pew.
Well, you'll love this. We'll be trying their Sweet Salvation Brown Ale. So that's one to look forward
We'll have
to.
to try that at church.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
From Westbound and Down Brewery, we mentioned these last week, and I don't know if we got a chance to cover the story or not. Westbound and Down is a Colorado brewery that has just bought 2 other craft breweries in
Wow,
Colorado
okay.
with the plan to keep them open under their existing name, making their existing
Making
beers.
their
They're
existing
just
beers.
going to operate them, keeping them from needing to be sold to a big beer conglomerate company. But Westbound and Down has a hazy IPA called Juice Caboose, and we'll be trying that
That's
on the
a
show.
good name.
And then from St. Petersburg, Florida, Cycle Brewing.
We've
we'll
had
be,
Cycle Brewing before.
we'll be trying their Rare Dose, or it could be Rare DOS. I don't know, because it could be the computer operating system, DOS.
right instead of DOS.
But I think it's Rare Dose, which is their
because
whiskey.
it's just DOS. It's no E, right? So
Correct.
it's not,
yeah. Right. DOS. It's a whiskey barrel aged Imperial Stout, so I'm sure you won't like it.
That's going to be the worst. I'm sure.
Okay. So we have that to look forward to, and a little spirit tasting. I saved this one for today's show because I knew Jim was going to be on, and I know Jim likes rye. We're going to be doing Doc Swinson Single Barrel Straight Rye. It's a special barrel picked exclusively for Specs, which is one of the big
Nice,
shops
yeah.
here. It's where I shop most of the time. So this looks like a very special bottle, and we'll be getting to that.
We'll find out.
Plus, we will be bringing you Drinking News. Drinking News is our portion of the show where we bring you stories that may or may not involve drinking, but are definitely most and best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And on today's Drinking News, our teaser headline, it's time to hand out some awards. So we'll get to that. Cigars to watch for, we have some of those to tell you about, and an interesting new article about sodas, craft sodas to pair with cigars.
Craft sodas.
Yeah.
Craft sodas are going to be
Non-alcoholic
great when you put
beverage.
alcohol in
Yeah,
them.
yeah, exactly.
Do we have to do that?
We already did our non-alcoholic beer blind taste test. Be glad we didn't invite you for that.
Don't
show, Jim.
worry, because I brought palate cleansers that were alcoholic beers.
Yeah, it's kind of the mirror, the inverse of what you normally would do, But yes, the palate cleansers were wonderful, and a few of the non-alcoholic beers weren't bad. Yeah,
3 of them, as a matter of fact, were actually okay.
It's become a trend. Did we get into this last week? I know we mentioned it, but I don't know if I did the whole story about the Great Malort holiday controversy.
No. Oh, yes. We talked slightly about it
Yeah.
because they made they stole an idea.
They stole an idea.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So,
Allegedly.
apparently, one of the bars, and it's further proof that people in Chicago are insane. But one of the bars that serves Malort had come up with an infusion version of it with candy cane, and the Malort people said, "Oh, we'll do that," and started doing it, and it caused this big row over a beverage that doesn't taste good no
And
matter
all
how
they
you
wanted
infuse
was
it.
acknowledgement.
Exactly. All right, so we'll acknowledge them
Also,
when we
got a mystery
come back.
beverage.
Oh, yes, we do. We'll get to that right when we come back. You're checking out Smoking and Toasting. Welcome to a brand new year. Welcome back and Happy New Year. It is Smoking and Toasting. We have made it all the way into 2024, or at least
This is
we will
madness.
have by the time that this show airs.
No one's
right?
come in to stop us yet.
Yeah, and that
Was that nothing's going to stop us now?
That really has to tick that one guy off.
And if this world runs out of lovers,
yeah,
we'll still have each other.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just crazy what's happened this year already.
Yeah.
I will say 2023 was less of a dumpster fire than the previous 3 years, actually.
But I'd like to point out that 2024 has started with Ian quoting Jefferson's Starship.
That's right, not Starship.
Not
Not
Starship.
Jefferson Airplane.
No, not Jefferson
Jefferson
Airplane.
Starship.
You can quote Jefferson Airplane all day. I'm
But
down.
Jefferson
I'm down with
Starship.
that.
To be very specific.
Yeah. And for the record, if I had a time machine and could go back in time and reorient
If
history,
you could turn back time.
yeah, one of the things that I would do would be on my list is to go back and do whatever was necessary to make sure that we built this city on rock and roll was never or recorded.
Are you Sarah
But you
Connor?
can hear the construction right now from them building the city on rock and roll.
Yeah. I wonder if they are indeed knee deep in the hoopla.
Those guys across the street definitely are.
They're definitely knee deep in the hoopla.
Hoopla.
That's good to know. Speaking of the hoopla, Ian has brought us a mystery beverage
I have.
today.
And every
he's
time I
already
bring a mystery beverage, you guys hate it. So
Oh,
we're
no,
gonna see how
that's
much,
not
we're
true.
gonna see how much you hate this one.
That's not true. I was pointing out before the show started that every time I bring a mystery beverage, it seems to be either clear or some really bright color and has a saccharine aftertaste.
First off, I just want you to
every
notice-
time Ian brings one, it looks like a barley one.
Just nose this thing.
Yeah.
Like, and
Wow.
Yeah, it gets better.
Wow, that's almost like gingerbread and
Yeah. Very
molasses thing.
Holiday.
Yeah, it does have a very holiday vibe to it.
It is
Yeah.
very holiday. Well, it's holiday season. I don't know if it's holiday.
Wow,
I'm waiting to see what you think.
Ooh.
that's like a graham cracker crust on a holiday pie. Is what that's like.
Yes. Wow.
I kind of dig it.
Yeah.
All right, this is Shiner Trail Ale.
No kidding.
Trail
Well, it's
mix
very nutty.
inspired ale. Ale brewed with chocolate, nuts, dried fruit, and natural flavors added.
I get what you're saying now that you say trail mix. and
Yeah,
trail ale.
I was going to say
But I get a graham cracker and a chocolate in there.
graham
Yeah.
cracker and a chocolate and nuttiness.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it really does.
And on the finish,
Embody.
almost a little saltiness. Too.
Yeah, it does really embody that trail mix flavor. I kind of
It's a pretty good beer, I thought.
Yeah, you always want when somebody makes trail mix, when they make it themselves, which a lot of people do, you always want to make sure they're including either chocolate chips or M&Ms. That has to be in there. It's not
Yeah.
trail mix
Yeah.
without a little
Right.
bit of
You
chocolate.
gotta have the sweet.
If you want to get, really wild, you can go with like those M&Ms with peanut butter in them. What are those called? Peanut butter M&Ms.
Oh yeah, peanut, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Reese's Pieces.
Yeah. There you go.
Be good.
Well, I'm telling you, Ian, that is a very. Now, I don't know if I would want 6 of them. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's
No, it's a
I think
nice
it's
drink. It's interesting. It's fun to share, too. And
Yeah.
actually, about one bottle of it is about as far as you can go. Because I've tried this. I had a 6-pack of it. About one bottle of it is as far as you can go in an evening.
Yeah.
But best if you split it at least 2 ways.
I love it. Well, again, we talk about this a lot. That a lot of the, those big bombers of really interesting and intricate and big beers really aren't designed for you to just open up at home and drink by yourself.
No.
They're meant to be shared.
Me and my wife crushed a Pumpkinator last night.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, love that. Speaking of love, I am still really enjoying the Dark Star.
Dark Star.
And I assume you're doing all right with your.
Oh, this thing's amazing. We're going to
yeah.
talk about this cigar a little later.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to that. We will also talk about some cigars to watch for. And coming up in our next segment, we'll start with the top-rated cigars of 2023. Cigar Aficionado, certainly there are people who agree and disagree with their ratings, but there's no denying that they are probably the foremost authority when it comes to these things.
You know, I get along philosophically with Cigar Aficionado on their ratings pretty well.
Yeah, I think for the most part. Every now and then I'll disagree with something, but for the most part, yeah.
For the most part, if they rate it high, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. So we'll get into that when we come back. We're on the famous front porch of Mr. Jim Hime, and this is what I like, man, just hanging out and smoking and enjoying smoking and toasting. We'll be right back.
Indeed.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are enjoying all three of those things on Jim Hime's famous front porch. Jim, thanks again for letting us come hang out here.
Welcome.
And smoke. This is always a blast. So it's brand new year time, which means it's time for lists. They're going to be everywhere on television, and you're going to see all kinds of lists of everything imaginable. And I'm actually kind of a fan of lists. I like them. I enjoy them when they come out. I like going through them, reading them, agreeing, disagreeing, whatever it is that is appropriate to do for the lists that are involved. So I thought before we get into Cigar Aficionado's list, which at the time of this taping we've got the top 25, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then they reveal or maybe I'm messing that up. Let me get this right. We've got the top 10, and then they will reveal 11 through 25, I think, tomorrow or something as of the time we're taping. So by the time this comes out, you can look on the Cigar Aficionado website and see the entire list. But we got the top 10, and I figured that's enough, and we decided we would do our top 3, and there's no real, restriction on this. It doesn't have to be a cigar that came out in 2023. Just has to be something that we particularly enjoyed and was memorable enough to make our top 3 list for this last year.
I had to think back through the year.
Yes.
It's only 52 different episodes, so it only took a couple hours. And I think what were my favorite cigars? So one of them was super easy. Okay, actually, most of them were super easy. But
You mean the AJs?
Anything by AJ. No, so I reviewed this just a couple weeks ago. This is the Sencillo Black Edición Limitada Nicaragua 2023. This is one of my favorite cigars right now. It's fantastic. The oily, leathery, toothy wrapper is fantastic. This is the torpedo that I'm smoking right now. The burn is impeccable. The ash, everything about this thing is so good. Doesn't matter.
And tell me the name of the cigar company again.
Sencillo, Sencillo.
Okay.
Sencillo.
Yep.
Sencillo.
Gotcha.
I don't know how to say this, man. Okay.
Because I got to go buy some of those. 'Cause that's a big recommendation.
It's so good. Going deeper. I brought all mine, by the way.
Oh, wow. Isn't that special?
The Pledge of Allegiance from EPC is outrageously good. It's a pricey cigar. It's $20. It's unbelievably good. And this goes up on my list. Oh, by the way, that Sencillo is like $8.
No kidding.
Maybe 10.
I'm getting some on the way home.
Yeah, it's amazing. This Pledge of Allegiance is like $20, and it's fantastic. This goes up on the list with the Plasencia Almafuerte. It goes on the list with the Padron 45th. Like, this is that kind of good.
Andalusian Bull good.
Andalusian Bull kind of good.
Yep.
All-time favorite. This is not a new cigar, but it comes out with a limited release every year. The Arturo Fuente short story. This is the Hemingway series, and this is the Maduro version. Have you had the Maduro version?
Yes, I've smoked a few of those.
Yes.
Not this year, actually.
Yeah, they're so good. Like, this is just a little flavor bomb that takes about 30 minutes or less to smoke. It's unbelievable. Now, I know that's 3 cigars. I'm going to toss in an honorable mention.
I had a feeling you were going to do that.
This thing is fantastic. And a little surprising because it's a bit of a vanity project. This is Blackened. This cigar is great. This is the one that's the collab between the guy that took over from he took over the Blackened whiskey from Dave Pickerel, and I'm blanking on his name right now, and James Hetfield.
And James Hetfield.
This, and it's made by Drew Estate. This is a fantastic cigar.
It really is. And in fact, that would be my runner-up as well. If I were going to do a number 4,
it's so good.
That would be number 4 on my list.
Cigar.
So my list for the year, and again, I don't think one of these came out last year. I think the others are all from years before.
And mine was in no particular order. It's just I love all those.
My number 3 was the San Cristobal Revelation, which you have one of in your gift. So I hope you enjoy that. Number 2 for me was the My Father Jaime Garcia Reserva Especial.
Yeah.
That is just an amazing cigar. And I wound up this year, I think I got like a sampler pack or something that had one in it. and I loved it so much I bought a box. So this year I was able to enjoy that across a number of months for a very long time.
I love that.
Really love it. And then my number one for the year was this year's or 2023's new release from AJ Fernandez, which was the New World Dorado. And I reviewed the Robusto on the show, and that's just a spectacular cigar. And just when you think, this guy's done so many blends, like how is he going to come out with something else? He manages to do it, and I'm always amazed. So those are my top three. But the M81, yeah, that should definitely be on.
Yeah, that gets the honorable mention. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, Jim, I don't want to put you on the spot because we didn't ask you about this before the show. But is there
really
any?
Putting me on the
Yeah, I
spot
know.
there,
Well,
'cause
no.
I have a terrible memory, but I have a camera where I take pictures.
Oh, okay. So
What I
Oh,
smoke.
he's like going back. He's like, all right.
yeah, I got it.
See
I got
that?
it. Yeah.
I mean, I smoke a lot of Roma Craft cigars.
Those are great.
I remember you talking about that.
Those
Yeah.
are
Cro-Magnon
probably-
is so good. Yeah.
But I like the Candela that they make.
Oh,
because
nice.
It reminds me of the old Camacho Candela that came out for a while. Did you ever smoke that?
I haven't had a
remember
Camacho,
the Camacho Candela.
but I've
It's
had
been
the
years,
La
but-
Polina. Have you had that one? That's a nice Candela.
I have not.
The
I
La
didn't know
Polina
they
is one
made
of the better Candelas I've had. so-
Candela is not so popular anymore like they were in the past.
Apparently, at the beginning of the 20th century, that was the cigar. That was the wrapper. Yeah.
That's correct. And anyway, Camacho came out with this great Candela, I don't know, 15 years ago maybe, and they weren't very popular at the time. Later, Candelas became a little more popular.
Mm-hmm.
Alec Bradley came out with one. Rocky Patel had a very good one that I can't
Yes.
find anymore. for
Rocky
some
Patel
reason.
had one that was a barbershop pole,
Yeah,
right?
I
That was
thought I remember
But
that.
this was just a Candela.
the pure Candela, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm probably talking too much about the Candela, but it's
Yeah, no, it's okay.
top of my list. I was smoking one yesterday, one of the Roma Craft, because those Roma Craft are smooth and creamy smooth.
Love it.
I'm gonna pick one of those up.
They're the closest of all of the Candelas that I've tried that are like that old Camacho.
Love
a lot
that.
of power, but
Yeah.
creamy smooth. So
Yeah, Candela's one of those funny things. I've had some Candelas that you can kind of, they're like, okay, well, we just made a Candela. But then there's that, like I said, like that La Polina one, when you try it, it's like,
That's a well crafted.
that's like that.
and
it
a
really-
well
Great
blended
brand,
cigar.
too, right?
Yeah.
That's a great brand of
Yeah.
cigar.
Well, let me give you the top 10 from Cigar Aficionado. And this is always a big deal. Our friend Alan Denny, who's been in the cigar business in
Industry, yeah.
in various spots in the industry, talked about working for EP Carrillo the year that the EP Carrillo was at the Pledge. Which one? Oh, the Encore.
It was the Encore, yeah, when the Encore got
was
Cigar
the
of the
cigar
Year,
of the
number
year.
one.
And he talked about how suddenly they could not keep it
Life-changing,
inside.
yes.
Yeah, life changed for EP Carrillo. That was such a big deal. So these ratings, while they're just interesting to people like you and me, to some people they're life changing.
Yeah.
So let's see what the top 10 were. And again, as of the time that we're recording today's show, the 11 through 25 haven't come out, but by the time the show is posted, you'll be able to go online and look and see. But we'll go over the top 10 here. Number 10 is the El Pulpo Bellicoso Grande, which I have not had,
I haven't had that
or
either.
seen anywhere. It's the only one of the cigars on this top 10 list that I was just absolutely, completely unfamiliar with. Even a couple of these I might not have smoked, I at least know of them. You know, I've seen them in stores. I've read about them. So I must find out more and try the El Pulpo, Pulpo, Bellicoso Grande. That's number 10. At number 9, a cigar I've enjoyed a number of times this year, the La Aroma de Cuba Mi Amor Bellicoso.
So I almost just put on my list, Aroma de Cuba as a blanket statement. I mean, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
so good. So good.
Yeah, that you almost can't go wrong. And in fact, they have a 5-pack sampler that you can find at some of your cigar shops. It's in one of those humidipacks. Buy it. It's you get all the cigars for a great price, and they're all just
Yes.
fantastic. So
And
recommend
they'll
it
stay
highly.
great in those Humi packs, by the way.
Yeah.
So glove box style.
Oh yeah,
man.
And then I save the humid packs and use them like later for traveling and stuff. You just want to throw something in the car. Number 8 on the list from Cigar Aficionado, and I find absolutely no fault with this selection: the Alec Bradley Prensado Torpedo.
Yeah, Prensado
That
is real good.
is a fine cigar. Jim, I see you nodding, Jim. Are you?
Well,
You're
I'm
up to.
I'm certainly familiar with that brand. I smoke a lot of.
A lot of the Alec Bradleys.
Well, I like Alec Bradley. They're great.
Yeah,
cigars.
the Magic Toast and quite a few others. Like they're
Number 7 on the list, Ian.
what you got?
The Blackened Cigars M81 by Drew Estate Corona. So,
Okay.
So yeah, glad to see it made the list. It deserved it.
Yeah.
Because listen, I'm always suspect of things that have a celebrity tie-in. You know.
Yes.
But in this case, both the whiskey and the cigars, top notch.
Yeah,
products.
fantastic.
Absolutely. The first Cuban makes the list at number 6 is the Partagas Serie P, number 2. So if you can find one, smoke it.
I thought the Serie D number 4 was like just a constant part of the list at all times.
Well, this is the Serie P, not the
Right.
D. So a little bit different. At number 5 on the list, EP Carrillo makes their annual return to the list
EPC's
with the
gotta be on there.
Allegiance Confidant.
Yeah.
Allegiance. There was a lot of talk, a lot of noise about that cigar this year
Yes.
when it came out. So they did the pledge, and now they did the Allegiance.
And then they did the Pledge of Allegiance, which was on mine.
Yes, that's right. At number 4, the Rocky Patel ALR Second Edition Toro.
Yeah.
Now, I've had ALR. I don't know if it was a second edition or not. I'm trying to remember. But I will tell you this. This cigar could be a candidate for the 2024 list.
Dark
This is a
Star.
really, really good cigar. And thank you, Adam, for the Dark Star. This is I just like the name.
Rocky, I am your father.
Yeah, exactly. But the ALR Second Edition Toro is the Rocky that makes the list for this year from Cigar Aficionado, and it comes in at number 4. At 3, I know you're going to have a big problem with this one, Ian. The Oliva Serie V Milanio Toro. That's such an amazing
That's such
cigar.
a go-to.
And I
for
find
me.
myself thinking, why didn't I have that on my
And
list?
I put
You know?
I had the 135th on my list, and I thought, you know what, I can't have it on my list every single year. I mean, I guess I could, but I figured I'd give someone else a chance this year because that 135th is amazing.
I just discovered those and bought a box of them.
Oh,
a
they're-
friend of mine gave me one. A guy that doesn't smoke cigars. Somebody gave him the cigar, and so he gave it to me. He said, "Well, I know you'll enjoy it." So I smoked it. That is a fan.
You had the
Yeah.
same reaction I had. I smoked
mean-
one. I bought a box immediately.
I did.
Yeah.
I immediately got online and
And
bought.
they're not even outrageously priced.
They're not,
No.
and
They're
that's a
great.
limited edition, right? They're very,
Well, so originally what happened, so when they first came out with that size, Trenton Smith is the Oliva rep. He happened to be on the show that day. We were doing the show at Stogie's, and he got a text right before we started the show saying, hey, they had something new coming out, and bam, announced it on our show that day. When it came out, he had just, like, days before gotten a box of them. Where's my English? And happened to be on our show when we did our show at the Briar Shop,
yes.
and he had them on hand. And then immediately I called a buddy at a cigar shop. I was like, "You got to save me a box as soon as you get it." And then they sold them out so fast. They said, "We're going to put them in regular production a year later," and that's now you can get them, and it's fantastic. It's worth every penny.
I'd just like to mention, though,
and they're not expensive, $10.
we knew this was a potential problem, though, because almost every time we have Trenton, who's a wonderful guest, great guy from Oliva on the show, one of us will mention, and rightfully so, how amazing it is that Oliva's cigars are as affordable as they are.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And a couple of times I've said, we may need to stop saying that because they may not get the wrong. And I just saw the headline today. Oliva's raising their prices for 2024.
They have to. Like, they put it off for so long.
Yeah,
they
I
put it
know.
off far past everybody
Damn
else.
it!
I
Maybe
think,
we
in the
shouldn't. Maybe we
industry.
shouldn't
saying it in front of him.
Exactly.
Never tell Trenton that.
All right, the Oliva Serie V Milanio Toro is number 3. Number 2, the Padron Serie 1926, number 48.
Yeah,
Maduro.
that's classic.
Yeah, it
Super
really
classic.
it's just hard to go wrong. And the number 1 spot is taken by a cigar that is or a cigar brand at least, that is no stranger to the number 1 spot on the Cigar Aficionado list. Although I think it has been a number of years since they landed at number 1. Arturo Fuentes Fuente Opus X Reserva de Chateau
Oh, yes.
is the cigar of the year, the number 1 for 2023 for Cigar Aficionado. Now,
Go
I'll
buy
admit-
them now. You'll never see them again.
I don't smoke a lot of those because I just feel like I hate this to sound this negative, but I feel like they're overpriced because they're in such demand. I just feel like I can get so much more cigar goodness for what that Opus X is going to cost me. Not that it wouldn't be outstanding, because it would, but it just doesn't seem like a smart cigar investment. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's a special occasion cigar thing. I think.
I think you're right. And I have a few other special occasion cigars in my humidor that I haven't smoked yet. So maybe once those meet the flame, I will get me one of those Fuentes. But number 1, congratulations, Arturo Fuente. And we got to take a break. We will be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we are so glad you're here. You know you're having a good time when you're on Jim Hime's famous front porch and you're smoking and you're talking about cigars of the year and you forget to do the beer that you were supposed to sample in the segment. That's what we did. So let's get to it now. Ian, you poured this at the beginning of the last segment. This is from Back Pew Brewing.
Sweet Salvation Brown Ale from Back Pew.
Yeah.
And they're made in Porter, Texas, not too far away from here.
About
Actually,
30 miles north of here.
we like to describe this brew as a paradox in a can. It's a brown ale with the porter's qualities. It's light, despite a dark color. Its complex flavor and its complex flavors craft a simple character. Give yourself over to the sweet taste of coffee and chocolate, balanced with the nutty notes of roasted grain.
So right at the second you said coffee and chocolate, the sip I was taking
tasted it?
hit
Yes.
my palate, and it was all about coffee and chocolate, and wow. So this definitely drinks like a brown ale, but the coffee and chocolate feels more like a porter.
I love
you think?
I love Back Pew because they have their Bach. It's called Seder Swill. They have quite a few beers that are just a little left of the normal, you know, and I like that they do that. It's a lot of fun. And this is one of those. It's got that roasty finish like you get on a good brown ale. St. Arnold's brown ale was one of those like that. And unfortunately it's not around anymore. You get that roasty.
Was it the Brown Dog? What was that called?
It was it was brown ale for a long time, and then they called it. It was a dog.
Somebody's dog.
Yes, but
Scruffy.
Scrappy Doo.
Scrappy Doo.
He ruined brown ale for everybody.
But
This one sets a new standard for brown ale.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is-
so.
this is quite-
This is much more complex.
quite good, quite drinkable, and some complexity to it. So,
No.
and they're right; it's a little lighter on the palate. It's a little lighter mouthfeel than you would normally get. But it's
I will
really
admit that I was initially a bit put off from Back Pew Brewing because the first beer of theirs that I tried was their IPA, and I didn't really like it all that much. But once I tried some of their other, and I'm an IPA guy, so maybe I'm just too picky. I don't know. Usually I like everything IPA. But for whatever reason, maybe it was the day.
They missed on that one.
They missed on that one, or I missed on that one. Maybe everybody else likes it. But when I've tried their other beers, they've all been outstanding.
Every brewery has its personality, and I don't think when I think Back Pew, I don't think IPAs at all. I think the brown ales and the like I said, the Seder Swill is one that, and I think those style of beers. When I think Back Pew, when I think IPA, there's a lot of other breweries in town that I think that's just what they do. You know?
and you're absolutely right. And
But you got to have one.
Right. I was going to say it could be that's just they don't have the same kind of interest in IPAs as say.
But then they're putting out something this good, whereas a lot of breweries who IPA is their thing, when they put out a brown or a darker ale, it feels kind of phoned in.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was just going to say maybe it's just that's not where their passion is.
Right.
I mean, if you ask a great jazz musician to write a potentially number one pop song, they might not write the best pop song, but they might be a much better musician
It's going to be complicated.
Right, exactly.
Kenny G.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it could be this IPA is just not really their thing, but they
Right.
kind of needed one, so
Yeah.
they.
Well, you have to have
put
one.
out.
Like in today's beer market, you have to have an IPA. There's
And-
no way.
Yeah, unless you're
this brown ale-
Klaus, then you don't.
Unless you're Klaus, and then that's that I love their attitude with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's German style beer. IPA is not a German style. This is what
Well,
we do.
I will tell you this. This may be one of my favorite brown ales
It's
ever.
really good.
It's really,
I'll
really
agree with
delicious. It's just a good cut above, I think, most brown ales I've ever had in terms of complexity. But as Ian said, it's still very drinkable.
Very good.
Yeah,
Very
very,
good.
very easy to go. So, big time
Yeah.
congrats. To,
Yeah,
Back
absolutely.
View.
Fantastic
This
beer.
This is good stuff. And you know what? I need to go back and try the IPA again because I might really like it. Sometimes it's just where you are. And,
The IPA fad kind of faded.
Mhm.
A little
It's
bit.
backed off. Yeah.
Yeah.
It has. We've all kind of like with cigars. You know, when you first start smoking cigars, you're looking for robust, Maduro, Churchills, and then after you've been smoking a while, you develop your palate. You start backing off of that to a little bit milder cigars, maybe a high mediums. Cigars that are a little less robust.
With
Yeah.
more complexity to it.
Right.
Indeed.
Yeah, well,
more nuance.
a lot of
flavors.
cigar OGs really kind of poo-poo the cigar boom from back in the 90s because, the cigars weren't very good during that time and there was too much demand and everything. But what happened was when the boom settled down, there wound up being a lot better cigars and more of them available to the aficionado because of the demand that had increased and the care that had gone into planting tobaccos for the future. And I think the same thing happened with IPA. There's more IPAs out there now and better IPAs
Yeah.
because of the IPA craze, even if it has slowed down. Speaking of IPAs, we're going to sample one from Westbound and Down Brewing, and we'll get to that coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's hour number 2 of show number 1 for 2024. It's Smoking and Toasting, and it's actually, what did I say, our 361st 61st show, if you can believe that.
Madness.
Yeah, that kind of is madness, actually. If you think about, every now and then I pause and think about how many beers that is,
Times 3
Yeah,
minimum.
Exactly. There's a few shows where we have more than 3, but in this case, we have at least 3. And Ian's pouring one now from a brewery in Colorado called Westbound and Down. And we mentioned this a little bit last week and talked about it earlier in the show today. But Westbound and Down Brewing in Colorado has recently purchased 2 other Colorado beer makers, Aspen Brewing, which I think you probably heard of, and then Capitol Creek Brewery. And they have both of those were owned by High Country Brewing LLC, an investment firm that acquired them a couple of years ago, and then now they're being sold back to actual brewers instead of financial investors. And this is
What
a
an amazing
positive thing.
Let's buy a brewery and let them do what they keep doing because they're doing it well. That's madness.
Well,
who thought of that?
Here's my favorite thing about this.
They
whole
obviously
transaction.
don't have Anheuser-Busch backing that.
They obviously don't. My favorite thing about this whole transaction is in this article in the Denver Post, it says, and I'm reading this verbatim, for now, Westbound and Down will keep both breweries' identities and continue to build on the rich brewing tradition that these 2 brands have established in the Roaring Fork Valley. So, love that.
Absolutely. Have you tried this beer yet?
Not yet. I've been telling you about their
A
acquisitions.
brewery with deep Colorado
On the
roots that
nose.
aims to infuse the spirit of the West into everything we create. Always
Wow.
consistent, expertly balanced, with a strong commitment to quality, elevating adventure since 2015.
So, you know what this reminds me of on the nose? You ever get any of that concentrated orange juice in the little round canister, right?
Yeah.
And so the way you make it is you take the
Peel
end
it,
off,
right.
and then you dump this semi-frozen lump of concentrate into the pitcher, and then you add water and you stir it and you kind of thump it until it finally dissolves. This on the nose smells to me like what that frozen can smells like when you first take off the end. I mean, it is
So this
solid
is
orange
Westbound and
juice.
Down Juice Caboose Hazy India Pale Ale, coming in at 7.2% alcohol by volume. It's pretty darn
Gentlemen.
good.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is Ghost in the
pretty darn
Machine
good.
good.
Yeah.
This is really, really
It's got
outstanding.
body. It's got a roundness right up front, a fruity and sweet roundness
it
right up
reminds
front.
me a little of Fruity Pellets. Remember Fruity Pellets?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a real sort of a concentrated citrus to it. It's not just that it's got a little bit of an orange juice.
It
or grape
also
juice flavor.
has,
It's a
as you said that, it
concentrated
also has a
citrus.
little bit of a cereal, like breakfast cereal flavor to it as well.
Yeah, but
I'm not
it's
getting
like,
King Vitamin.
I was going to say,
I think
You remember King Vitamin?
No, I don't know.
Oh, that was a breakfast cereal. I even remember the jingle from when I was a kid. King Vitamin, have breakfast with the king.
I don't know that one.
You've never heard?
You totally
Really?
lost
no,
me.
Wow.
sounds like it was trying to be healthy.
Jim?
I'm drinking this for breakfast.
Okay, but do you know of King Vitamin, or am I on
We
an
have
island here?
changed his daily regimen.
No more bacon and eggs for me.
Well, this is really wonderful. All obscure former cereals aside, it's really, really wonderful. I think I could have gone with Crunch Berries. I could have gone with a lot of things. that
King
you would
Vitamin it
recommend.
was.
I don't know why that popped into my head, but it was a real thing, I promise.
I don't know about you.
It's
Angela.
stream of consciousness
Please,
thing
someone
going on here.
email me, st@rfcmedia.com. Someone email me and tell me that my brain did not make up King Vitamin and the King Vitamin song.
It
You had an
sounds
interesting
legit.
childhood.
Yeah.
It sounds legit.
You spent a lot of time by
To
yourself,
say
right?
the least, yes.
It also sounds like one of those that they were like, well, nobody really cares that there's vitamins in the cereal. We need to get on with Fruity Pebbles,
Right.
Lucky Charms.
Count Chocula.
Sugary sugar puffs.
Well, back to the beer. Fantastic.
No, it's delicious. Yes.
Absolutely
It's what
fantastic.
you expect.
Wonderful.
From
You know,
an IPA.
crazy
Yeah,
enough-
fruity,
Yes.
just lovely.
Right. And crazy enough, it doesn't fight with the cigar. It's
Which is interesting. Now, I think because the hazier, and as an IPA guy, the hazier and juicier it is, the more chance you have that it doesn't fight with the cigar. But the more West Coast style, the things that have got a little more hoppiness on the finish have a tendency to fight
I
with
think
cigars.
a lot of times it is that finish, that palate wrecking kind of finish. You don't smoke cigars.
And I enjoy
drink
that kind of
Stone.
IPA, but I have a tendency not to drink them when I'm smoking.
I'm not going to let any beverage fight with my cigar.
I like the way Jim thinks.
I'm just not going to do it.
He's got a very straightforward way
Yeah.
of going about things.
I know he's kind of cut and dried, and I like that. It doesn't have to be all that
It doesn't
complicated.
have to be funny.
Yeah.
It just has to be.
Just does what it does.
Doesn't even have to be complicated, right? Oh man. Well, I'll tell you, this is a wonderful experience being here on the front porch. I know we've talked cigars a lot today, but the reason for that is we're all enjoying ours so much.
That's true. Now, when
Just
you
sitting
sit out
and-
here on your own, do you find yourself, as you're getting older, like wanting to yell at kids, "Get off my lawn"?
Yeah, there's a whole cadre of people that walk their dogs past our porch here, which is very close to the sidewalk, right? And so we always wave, and so I'm kind of a fixture out here. And all these new people moving into the neighborhood and walking their dogs and everything. So a lot of times I do have to remind people to pick up their poop.
Yeah. Hey, buddy, you left something there.
My
No, I'm kidding. They're all very nice.
my friend Dave, who has been on the show before, Dave Murphy, he had a sign he used to have in his yard back when he was had this big yard that people would walk by in his neighborhood, and the sign said, "I know who you are, and I saw what your dog did." That seemed to be a bit of a deterrent, actually.
Just put it in your brain a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, exactly.
Dogs poo. It's one of the things they do. They bark and they poo.
Yep.
And if they're not doing those things, your dog is having some issues.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as a dog owner, if I'm walking my dog and my dog poos on someone's yard, you just pick it up. Mm-hmm. You have poo bags. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, but what do you do when you forgot the poop bag?
That is a quandary for all time.
Then you
That
come
hap-
back.
That happened to me one time down the street, and the guy happened to be out on his porch, and my dog took a dump right in the
It's a
yard.
reasonable size.
Oh, and he's like sitting
Yeah,
there.
It was slightly embarrassing.
Yeah.
And he walked out there and he goes, "So you're going to pick that up, right?" And I'd forgotten my poop bag.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to pick it up later."
I'll be back.
And I did.
I'll be back for the poop.
That's the right thing to do.
I'm
Yeah.
lucky. I live in an apartment, and they leave poop bag stations around.
Oh, yeah.
So they just fill those up all the
Yeah,
time.
we actually have some of
Yeah,
those
those are
in
great.
the neighborhood. I should probably get one.
Yeah.
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 You know, one of the things about smoking and toasting is eventually, at some point in the show, we always manage to get to poop.
It's still funny after all these years.
Yeah, you know.
Well, a lot of times when you do your pre-light stuff with your cigar and you want to kind of smell it, just
Yeah.
like you do.
Oh, there can definitely be.
wine.
When we say barnyard, we kind of mean manure. You know?
Exactly.
We kind of mean manure.
So makes sense that we're talking about poop.
Well, and let's face it, the best and richest soil is poop heavy,
Yes. Well,
and that's what grows the best tobacco to make the best cigars. It's my same friend Dave.
I don't know a lot about the fertilization process with tobacco.
Yeah, well, it doesn't necessarily involve walking your dog, but it is. But I will say this to name check my friend Dave again, second time in this segment. He has a book, like a kid's book, in his bathroom at his house that I really want to get a copy of to put in mine because it's awesome. It's got illustrations and
is it
stuff.
Everybody Poops?
Everybody poops. Are you familiar with the book?
I bought that for my sister's kids because that's hilarious.
It's not only hilarious, but it's educational as well.
Yes.
And it's not like a joke book. It is hilarious, but it's
Oh, yeah.
not like a joke.
I mean, they have a whole thing. I mean, everybody knows Elmo, but do you really have the Elmo learns to potty video like I did for my kids? That's hilarious. Elmo's dad helping him out. Yeah, this is
I must confess, I've never gone
Elmo
there.
just got real.
Yeah, exactly.
It cuts across class lines.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, keep an eye out. There's a woman walking her dog through your yard. Keep an eye out.
There's a lot of new folks in the neighborhood. I don't know them, but
Get
we
off
always
my
wave.
lawn.
Yeah, I actually did that
up your
once, by the way. I had when I lived in.
Yeah, but your lawn is Discovery Green.
No, but when I lived in the suburbs of Philadelphia, I had a house on a corner lot, and people liked to shortcut the corner.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember being out on the porch doing something and watching a couple of young people doing that, and I actually said, the words were out of my mouth before I realized
No, you didn't.
I had said, "Hey, get off my lawn." At least I didn't say "you kids."
How long ago was this?
Oh, this is like 20 years.
This was the moment you turned old.
It was. No, actually, the moment I turned old happened a little bit before that. It was the first time that I dropped something and I leaned over to pick it up and made a noise. That was when I officially turned
And then
old.
as you stood up, your back went pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, I think it was the first time I walked into a building in downtown Houston, and this lovely young lady held the door for me.
Did she say age before beauty?
No, but it was implied.
I went to see.
And I was only
Gentlemen,
like 50.
I'm still waiting for the distinguished shock of gray to hit each temple here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, screw you, because I've already got the distinguished shot of gray like Steve Martin entirely
Yeah.
over my head, and I'm younger than you.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Just wait till you get the first distinguished shot of gray in other places.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're going south now.
Yeah, we are.
This show is reaching new depths.
It really is. And it's only
Totally appropriate for the famous Porch.
and it's only the first show of the year. So,
Yeah, we got a lot of
This is a
not
poor tap
that
for things
kind
to
of show.
come, ladies and gentlemen.
Terry, where are we time wise? Is it about that time?
It's almost that time.
All right.
Yes,
All right. So
exactly.
we are
About
going
1
to
minute.
take a break. We are going to try some rye whiskey in the next segment, and then
Rye whiskey.
I know you do. That's why
Rye
I
whiskey's
selected
so
it for this
good.
week just because I knew you liked it.
You're so kind.
So we'll see if you like this one. But we'll get to that coming up. Also, Drinking News is right around the corner. You may remember our Drinking News teaser headline is "It's time to hand out some awards," and that's exactly what we're going to do. Some very special Drinking News awards will be handed out on this program coming up here in just a few moments. So, this I feel like this is one of the more laid-back shows we've ever done, and I attribute it to the famous Front Porch.
And the weather's great for this.
The weather is perfect. Yes.
Wow.
It's overcast. It's humid.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
These cigars are not going to dry out.
This is right.
Not at
All
all.
So,
I'm sorry. You go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No,
you.
Following you, sir.
The jump in right there. I love it.
You were saying, sir, before we ran out of time?
Actually, I thought we were just about to finish the segment.
I just want to
I was gonna
point
mention
out
to
that
you.
really they're just trying to get each other to talk so that they can smoke the cigar.
You're
That's really all
100%
they're
right.
doing.
I've done a much
You
better
go ahead.
job.
I'm gonna
I haven't
smoke.
had to relight my cigar on this show.
So I realized
And
that
usually-
I was talking like more than you because I had to relight my cigar, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
"What is wrong with the universe right now?"
What's right with the universe is that I've kind of figured it out now. So we'll take a pause with that, and we'll be right back. Smoking and Toasting on the air for 2024, show number 361. And What's Up New Orleans? We'll be right back. And welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are luxuriating on the Ian, you still got your paper footer on
for
there.
that. I forgot there's a footer on that one.
We are luxuriating
Cigar smells like paper.
on the front porch, and nobody wants paper as one of their. I'm picking up rich mocha notes and some burning paper. That's generally not something you're looking for in your cigar. But we are, as I was saying, luxuriating on the famous front porch of the one and only Jim Hime. And Jim, thank you again for allowing us to do the show here. We took a rather long break there, and I did switch cigars because my Rocky Patel was coming to an end. So I have now gone with the New World Dorado from A.J. Fernandez, previously mentioned in my list and in Cigar Aficionado's
I have
list.
swapped to the blackened,
Also previously
Also
mentioned
in
in
my
our
list.
list.
and yes,
And Jim just lit a new one as well. What is that one, Jim?
The Fuente short
That's
story.
the Arturo Fuente short story, yes.
3 years.
Yeah, and they are very consistent, and we love that. So, Specs, where I love to shop, is the Specs that's near my house in Midtown Houston is the huge one. So you can get lost in there, and what a wonderful
it
place!
is a candy store. For
What a
adults.
wonderful place to get lost. But they do, from time to time, they will do bottle picks, and this whiskey that we're about to try is a Specs bottle pick, and so thank you to the
Doc
Specs
Swinson's.
whiskey expert. So it's Doc Swinson's rye whiskey. It is a single barrel, straight rye, and it is, I'm excited to try this because, I don't know, it just looks, sometimes you get a bottle and it just looks good.
This
you know
looks
what I'm talking
like
about?
old school
Yeah.
snake oil. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just exactly
They kind of captured that old west, like you just drove up with a horse pulling a van.
Yeah,
and
it got some oil, got some tonics
got
to
some
sell.
tonics, right? So they went straight for that. They did that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
The bottle's beautiful though. Like
It is.
it's a black label with gold raised lettering on it. It's got its entry date and it's
It just looks very
hold
whiskey-like.
date, barrel number 22,004 proof at 114.
Oh well, that's not much.
Yeah. Well.
22,004.
Specs single barrel selections. What does it say here on the back? This barrel was hand selected by a small group of epic people who found it just too good to pass up.
Oh, I love it.
If they couldn't say no, should you? That's what it
great.
says on here.
That is awesome. I love that. So, and I will just mention, I'm a big fan of ryes, and I know that Jim is as well. So that's one of the reasons I picked this bottle for this show. But you're a
smells-
fan of the rye as well,
That
aren't
smells
you?
spicy bubble gum. Like
Which is
right
kind of
off
a
the
rye
top.
thing, right? I mean,
Yeah, no,
ryes
it's beautiful.
Very, very frequently have that.
Bubble gum is one of those things that like people are like, what? Whiskey gets that a lot, and it's really, really a nice flavor. It is. Oh, and it's oily. Look at how it sticks to the glass. Oh,
And oily, it even has a little bit of an oily consistency to it, which is not a bad thing.
this is cinnamon bubble gum and it's sweet and delicious, and a little spicy on the tail end. It leaves like a little tang kind of thing going on there. Not
Jim,
tang like the drink.
Jim, what are your thoughts on
Almost
the
a
rye?
leathery kind
I
of
like
thing.
it.
See, this is why it was so fun having Jim on the show when he was the guest host, because he doesn't mince any words. He just gets right to it.
Well, it's like I've said about beer before.
Yeah.
Beer good.
Yes, that is one of my favorite sayings of yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. No, it is good. It is very complex.
Oh my gosh.
It is just
goes so well with
goes
the
well with
cigar.
it. Yeah, and it goes well with this one as well. Again, I'm smoking the New World Dorado, the Robusto, and it just, as another one of Ian's sayings goes, forms like Voltron.
This is a sweet rye that really, really is like on its own. We're drinking this neat, no ice, no water.
Would be interesting actually to try a little drop.
Oh,
of
I
water.
have a little bit of water.
Do you?
Here.
Let's
Yes,
try it.
Would you like?
Well, while we have a moment left in this segment, let's try a little splash of water.
It should be just melted to get a couple drops.
Mm-hmm. I will let you pour, and I'll talk about it while you pour yours.
Oh,
Well, that's quite a bit, but that's all right. Jim's like, I don't know if I want water in my.
I don't know about this.
yelling at me.
Sometimes just a little bit of water will really open up the flavors.
We'll reveal
It will
this in the
indeed.
next segment.
Because we do have to. Ooh, we have to wrap. Drinking news is next, and we'll talk about this coming up on Smoking a Toasting.
Oh,
Perfect.
Oh. Welcome back. It's my favorite segment of the show. It's the Drinking News segment. We'll be getting to that in just a moment. But first of all, I think the last thing Ian said in the previous segment was, damn.
Oh, okay. So a little bit of water. So this was great to begin with. Okay.
All right, so what we're talking about here is this
Doc
rye.
Swinson's.
Doc Swinson's rye. This is a
Single barrel rye.
and it's a special barrel that Specs.
Yeah,
picked,
this
but-
is a barrel pick from Specs Single Barrel Selections, and it is outrageously good, neat, with a little splash of water. It opens up into
wow, it really does.
way more complexity. It's so good.
Doc Swinson
just-
cures what ails you.
I just it does
right.
It does keep right in with that tonic and snake oil salesman.
Like it doesn't
vibe.
lose the bubble gum or the cinnamon, but it adds a little like slightly chocolately undertone, and that spice, that rye spice, just follows all the way through. This tastes like.
So-
This tastes a bit like Christmas.
Perfect timing since we're recording right in the middle of the holidays. So
Not quite coming down off of Christmas.
that's right. Thank
but
you.
We're keeping it going.
I just want to mention, by the way, I realize that we have listeners all over the world. In fact, hi Sao Paulo, but we have listeners all over the world, and so you may not be able to get this particular bottle. So we did a little sort of a Chris Hart number on you this time. However, I would like to encourage you, whatever your shop is, wherever you go to buy, when they do a barrel selection of something, if it's something that's kind of in your taste,
In your wheelhouse,
your wheelhouse, always try it, because these barrel selections are not done by the flunky who just started working there last week.
Yeah.
These are done by their expert in whatever it is, in whiskey and tequila and rum.
And this is just with Specs? Is this one just
This
with
one
Specs?
is just available. Now you can get Doc Swinson's,
Yes.
and their rye.
Now, keep in mind
a lot of places,
that
but
if you go
this-
buy a bottle of Doc Swinson's, it's probably going to have some of these qualities.
absolutely. But this is
Because
a particular
this is
barrel.
a particular barrel
Yeah.
that's going to have this. Yes.
yeah.
I'm just happy we have a whole bottle here.
Yeah. So and this bottle looks great. It was wax covered, but it opened up actually way easier than I expected it to.
Well, some whiskey just wants to be consumed.
That's right. It wants to be opened.
Ladies and gentlemen, we start a brand new year, and we start it with a segment that you know and love called Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
Do you know what to say, Jim?
you need a mic.
To the vet. I had to take my gator to the vet.
You're going to need that mic. See, you got your hands full.
Goes in there.
Very
Hold on.
difficult
Let me
work.
set that up. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
What happened to your gator pet?
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
I've been drinking.
Remember we once.
Well, and that's the point. Actually, cheers, y'all.
Perfect.
But that's
You're
the
doing
point
great.
because drinking
you keep
news.
this up, Jim.
Drinking news is the segment of the show where we bring you a story that is often, sometimes, about drinking, not always, but is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking.
And most people don't get the line exactly right, so you're good.
Ian, I hope that didn't bump the new song out of your head. Are you
We have
okay?
a new song?
Yes, we have a new song.
Oh.
We'll get to it. Hang on. We'll get to it. Welcome to a brand new year, and welcome to a new tradition on Drinking News. As this segment has inexplainably grown in popularity over the last couple of years, we've decided
news tradition.
We've decided that it's time to give back to the people who have made it all possible. Yes, we should recognize Mr. Ian Barry for his excellence with the ukulele and his artistry at writing and performing the Drinking News theme song. We should mention all of those who have contributed across the weeks with an artfully rendered version of the line, "I had to take my gator to the vet." Jim, unfortunately, you don't fall into that category just yet, but we'll get you there.
It's practice. You have to practice these lines.
But most importantly,
It rhymed.
it did rhyme.
True,
You're correct, and it was a wonderful
pulling-
ad lib.
That was pulling out a save right there.
Yes, it was, and I should say, well done.
Yes.
Well done. Of course. But most importantly, we must thank the Dunning-Kruger effect specimens who populate Drinking News. If you're not familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect, it is basically the phenomenon where people with limited competence in a particular area regularly overestimate their abilities. It is those people without whom there would be no Drinking News, and we've decided to celebrate them with a new yearly awards presentation. Kind of like the Grammys for really stupid people. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Smokin' and Toastin's first annual Florida Awards.
Florida, oh Florida, we pick only the best from you. Florida, this may surprise you, it's the first time I've ever performed. Oh Florida, it's Florida Awards on Drinking News.
Am I supposed to stand and salute or
I
put
think
my
you
hand
should.
over my heart?
I think you put your hand over your heart for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe to just make sure your heart's still beating.
I wanted it to be anthematic, right?
It was wonderful. That
Did you
you
say anthematic?
Yes,
anthemic, I think, is the word.
anthematic.
But you have done it. You have.
Anthematic. Look, I don't know how to say this, guys, but Worcestershire. Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
Anyway,
Worcestershire.
You've outdone yourself, is what I will say. I will point out as we move into Smoking and Toastin's first
listen,
annual-
guys, this will surprise you, but it took me almost 12 minutes to write that. Okay,
Okay. Well, thank
just
you.
letting you know.
I thank you for your
Thanks
dedication.
thanks for thinking about it in the car on the way here.
So I'll point out before we begin that you do not have to live in Florida or even be in Florida to win a Florida award. You simply have to embody the spirit
The spirit of Florida.
of Florida and the world-renowned Florida man.
I want you to know that when I sat down to write that song, like my songwriting process is, I sat down with a sheet of paper and I wrote all the things that Florida makes me think of.
Yeah.
And I put, of course, gators, and I put swamps and manatees and meth on this list, right? And
my
then
goodness.
that's what it distilled down to. Just so you know,
I
Never,
appreciate-
never Disney.
I appreciate
Disneyland is on the list somewhere too.
But
I
you
just-
didn't mention meth in the song.
There's verses that we'll put in for next year.
I do appreciate
I was
that,
a little rushed on
that
this
peek behind the curtain at the creative process. It's wonderful. This is kind of like behind the music here. Yeah.
There's
When-
a sheet. I'll take a picture of it. We can post it.
When we return, trouble descends on Ian and his Drinking News song. When Behind the Music continues. All right, so I just want to point out before you, again, that you don't have to be in Florida or from Florida to qualify. You simply have to have the spirit of Florida, and you have to have made it onto a 2023 report on Drinking News. So here we go with the 2023 Drinking News Florida Awards. The Florida Assault with a Tasty Weapon Award goes to 24-year-old Dalton Reed, who attacked the manager at a Clearwater Family Dollar store with a lollipop.
Florida.
Runner-up is the Florida man from Marion County who assaulted his wife with a slice of pizza.
Florida.
The Florida Award for attempted murder with a drink that still had more taste than Michelob Ultra goes to Florida woman Veronica Klein, who tried to poison her baby daddy with a cocktail spiked with Raid ant and roach spray.
Oh.
You may remember that story.
Yeah.
I've never tasted anything like that.
A Texas man named Paul takes our next Florida award.
Texas man.
The Florida Award for Trouser Snake Trouble. Paul arranged to have his penis injected with lip filler, and instead of having it give him the girth he so desired, wound up making his one-eyed Willy Worm, and we're quoting him here, a big, squishy, lumpy disaster. End quote.
Who'd have thunk it, right?
None of those words, except for perhaps big or anything you ever want.
Don't they have pills for that?
Yeah. And Drinking News would like to congratulate Florida man Corey Johnson, who, after getting secret messages from the president beamed directly into his brain,
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
stole a pickup truck and drove to Cape Canaveral to warn government officials that there were U.S. aliens fighting Chinese dragons, and the Space Force needed to do something about it pronto.
Aliens fighting dragons.
Corey receives the Florida Scouts Honor Award for alien and dragon preparedness.
Look, the problem with that is that he chose to do it right now under this president. Now, if you'd have told me Trump did that, I might believe it.
The Florida Award for if you're going to drink at Walmart, at least get something that doesn't taste like camel urine, goes to James John Perez of Sebastian, Florida, who stole pants, several pairs of socks, and a pocket knife from Walmart, and then proceeded to celebrate his crime spree by sitting on the floor and opening up and drinking a six-pack of Smirnoff Ice.
Florida, Walmart, I'm so confused what to say.
We will fully admit that Walmart does not have the greatest selection of beverages, but even a Bud Light would have made the ride to jail in the patrol car have a better aftertaste than Smirnoff Ice. And then there's the Florida Award for...
Ice is in right now. No, wait. Wait. That was the early 2000s.
Yeah, that was like 1999, I think. Yeah.
Ice was 90% of the don't drink that list the other day.
It was.
I'm just impressed with the fact that he stole some pants.
Yeah? Oh, yeah.
Maybe he was wearing them.
And then there's the Florida Award for showing a deceased marsupial who's boss, presented to 45-year-old Robert Wilcox, a Florida man, from last week's Drinking News, who was arrested for pooping on a dead possum in rush hour traffic.
Dead marsupial be down.
And poop.
And finally, yes.
Yes, we've gone full circle in this conversation now.
That was professional right there. Callback.
And finally, the Florida Award for the most outstanding group poop goes to 4 Florida women who got into a knockdown, drag-out brawl with the manager of a Papa B's wing place in Longwood.
Papa B's wings.
After being accused of clogging the restaurant's toilet. The fight featured kicking, clawing,
Clogging. We're not talking about the dance.
pulling of hair, and using cups, salt, and pepper shakers and chairs as flying projectiles. Because no one was going to accuse them of willful destruction of a porcelain figure.
Even if they did.
Congratulations, ladies. You have secured yourself a spot in the Drinking News Florida Awards Hall of Fame.
Florida, oh Florida, we pick only the best from you. Florida, oh Florida, it's Florida Awards on Drinking News.
And those are just some of the stories that we brought you in 2023. One can only imagine that 2024 will continue to be rich with the antics of those in and who identify with the Sunshine State. Because, of course it will. Because Florida.
In Drinking News.
Reporting live from Florida, USA, where there's very clearly something in the water. Let's hope it's not poop or Smirnoff Ice. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking News, Drinking News. Now's the time for Drinking News.
Cheers, Al.
I'll drink to that.
I like big beer.
Yeah,
That is a big beer.
So yeah, that was just a little, a way to sort of recap the year.
I like that.
That was.
I enjoy that.
And fresh drinking news stories will be on their way to you with the next episode. I promise.
How about beer?
Such
Let's
a
do
good year
beer.
in drinking.
It was a good year in drinking
Yes.
news.
Beer looks awesome.
So Ian is now pouring Cycle Brewing's Rare Dose or Rare DOS, DOS. It's a whiskey barrel-aged Imperial Stout. The brewery is from St. Petersburg, Florida, and this is, I don't believe this is the first beer of theirs we've had. I think
We've had Cycle Brewing.
had them on before, yeah. And this just looks to me, Ian, at first glance, like something that is right in your wheelhouse.
This is something I would drink floating down the river in Texas.
Speaking
Here.
of drinking, I just want to mention that while Ian was performing the Florida Awards song during Drinking News, I got to go back to this rye whiskey.
I was going back. In fact,
By the way,
I
my
noticed-
cigar is still smoking.
Wow, this is good. Yeah, nicely done.
In
Nicely
fact,
done.
I noticed that there's still some whiskey left in there.
We're gonna fix that.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
that
if
whiskey is not showing off as evaporative properties.
No, it's not. And Jim, I see your whiskey cup apparently has a hole in it, so
Yeah.
we may need to rectify that.
Oh mercy!
All right. So, are you saying "Oh mercy" because of
Have
the
you tried this
hole
yet?
in his whiskey cup, or because of the Imperial Stout?
Have you tried this Imperial Stout?
I have
yet?
not.
Mm.
I
So-
love Imperial Stouts.
This just smells thick and
You mentioned
and
barley wine. This
Yeah.
has that very barley wine like fig slash
Oh, it sure does.
date, like ridiculous
Wow.
darkness to it.
Yes.
It's so good.
Jim, what's
Whiskey
your take on
barrel
this?
aged Imperial Stout aged over 1 year. It says here, according to the Surgeon General, women should not drink alcoholic beverages during pregnancy because of the risk of birth defects.
Good to know.
That's I mean, like
There doesn't happen to be any women out on the famous porch.
No,
right here
that's true.
At the moment.
at the
Yeah,
moment.
right. Jim, what are your thoughts on this while we have a moment left?
I agree with the figs and whatever else.
I agree with stuff. What he said.
It's good. I'm going to drink it now.
It's good.
Figs and dates, and
Yes.
It is woody. It is bourbony.
well, you can obviously tell that this has been resting in
Yeah.
bourbon barrels because it's got
Like
that.
I don't think they emptied the bourbon barrels before they poured this beer in, and it doesn't have.
It's like a brewed Boilermaker.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It does
kind
not
of
have
is.
a percentage on it, but I'm going to guess this at well above 10, probably 12-ish.
Yeah, it would almost
It's
have to be.
boozy and it's
Would
delicious.
almost have to be. All right, we got to take a break. We'll talk more about this in our final segment as we wrap up show number 1 of the brand new year. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Oh my goodness, I love every moment I've ever spent on Jim Hime's
This
famous
porch rocks.
Me too.
It's
There's a
just,
certain
and you
mojo.
spend more time on it than any of us. So
There's a certain mojo on this porch. Like
Yeah.
you've smoked this porch in.
right, and when I told you, Ian, about coming here and doing a show on the front porch, I'm sure you thought, okay, that'll be fun. But no, there is a special mojo going on here.
I feel
on
like
this
I'm going to
porch.
take a piece of this, like at least in essence, back to my back porch.
You know, every time you go away, you take a piece of Jim Hime's front porch with you.
Oh, I see. We're
Yeah,
going back
yeah,
to the
yeah,
80s. That's nice.
That's so sad that both of us knew what that was. It's so sad.
Immediately, there was no question.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I
Adam,
just
if
want
you
to
could
mention.
just add that in.
I don't know what they're talking about.
That's good. That's good. Just keep saying that.
You're probably better off that way.
I just want to mention that this Rare Dose or Rare DOS is not only a wonderful Imperial Stout.
I looked it up on Beer Advocate. It's coming in at 10%. So
Okay.
I was
Well,
pretty
I
close.
believe every
It's
percentage
as boozy
point of
as
that.
big.
Ian, if you could hold the bottle up, though, there's a very interesting contradiction, a conundrum, if you will. The beer is called Rare Dose. We'll call it Dose and say that it's 2, Spanish for 2. But if you see in the lines there on the front
In
of
the
it,
graphic, yeah.
it says there's an R and then there's a 1. Well, if it's Rare Dose, shouldn't it be R and a 2? I feel like they've done this to confuse us and make us continue to go back to the beer to try to find the answer.
They're making me go back to the beer. This is outrageously good. This is an Imperial Stout that's as close to a barley wine as anything I've had, and I
You're right
love
about
this.
that. Yeah, and I know you're a barley wine fan.
I love barley wines. I love the sweet. This is so sticky. If we dropped it on the porch and one of these chairs was sitting in that spot, you may never be able to move that chair again.
So be careful.
Those chairs don't need to be moved.
I know I'm putting you on the spot. Didn't prep this at all, but any New Year's resolutions that you guys have made for the new year?
I just made one. I'm going to find more of this.
Of the rare dose.
This is okay. So this is $25 for a bomber. Okay,
Right.
That's pretty expensive beer.
Yes, it is.
But this is 100% worth it. This is special and amazing.
And it's one of the reasons that we will occasionally spend that much on a bottle and try it out on the show is to let you know, hey, if you see this on the shelf,
Yeah.
is it worth it? Like, is it worth it? Because, and it was funny, our buddy Alan Denny texted us the other day, texted you and me both, about a bottle he was looking at on the shelf and said, should I splurge? And it's an interesting question. Now, unfortunately, he was looking at a bottle from the brewery. I had not had that particular one.
Well, here's the thing. If it's from the brewery, and we're talking about Breury,
Right.
The brewery, I'll buy it.
Well, and
Like,
that was
because
essentially
they're-
what I said. Haven't had that one, but you pretty much can't go wrong.
That brewery is so good that, like, anytime I see something from it's like when you see something made by AJ Fernandez, you just
Right.
buy it. You don't think about
Right. I don't ask a lot of questions.
it. Right.
I just make the purchase.
That brewery is so good.
Jim, any New Year's resolutions for you?
No.
I love that because I've always thought New Year's resolutions were kind of silly.
I have one. I'm going to come here and sit on Jim's porch a little more often.
Oh, well,
Oh, nice.
That's going to happen.
nice.
That's an excellent one.
I love it. I love it.
Even though
well,
I don't believe in those, but
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Noted.
I'm not a big fan of them because you either make ones that are so easy that you know you'll be able to keep them, or you make ones that you won't be able to keep.
And when your
and
wife
then they're
calls
over.
and says, that strange guy's on the porch again, and the police come up, I'll be like, look, I was invited here once.
you only have to be invited once.
Yeah. And then that becomes the standing invitation.
Yeah.
And then my
So-
wife will just have to deal with the consequences.
So, Jim, when you bought this house, did you look at the front porch and go, "Oh yeah"?
You know, it's interesting you would say that, Cruz, because when Elaine and we lived in this neighborhood for 9 years before we actually bought this house. And I used to jog in those days. And I would jog right past here, and I never really noticed this house. But when it came on the market, we came down here, and literally we walked right inside the front door, of course, observing the porch. And it's like, yeah, this is the house.
This is the
This
one.
is an
Happy-
old school
happy-
badass front porch.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Well,
What year is this from? Do you know?
Well, I was here, so I should probably remember. It was 22 years ago.
No, I mean, it looks like it was built in probably before the 60s, this house.
This house was built in 1919.
There
I
you
was
go.
very
There
young.
you go.
How
Yeah.
awesome.
I was very young.
Yeah.
So you were close. You were close, Terry.
Exactly. That's right.
Well,
Before the 60s.
Before the 60s. Oh, yeah.
Every house in
That's
this
right.
neighborhood was built
Before the 60s.
Except for that one across the street.
Second floor.
right.
Except that monstrosity across the street. there.
Second
Well-
floor, G.
ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you for making it all the way into 2024 with us. And Jim, I want to thank you for your standing invitation to enjoy cigars on the front porch.
You're welcome.
This has been the most laid-back edition of the show, I think, ever. And I love that. At 361, this is our most laid-back.
This is beautiful.
We've had some beautiful things to drink. We've had some beautiful things to smoke. And you guys have been beautiful.
Happy New Year's.
Stay cool, and we'll see you next week. Until we drink with you again, my friends. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.